We also gave 2 other reports that were pretty important. Our progress report within a release. And what we're doing here is showing what we've actually completed, what's done. And, and this is where we're meant to be right now. And that's the honest truth. If I had to put my hand on my heart, that's what we finished. However, we've got the majority of things in progress. So there's a certain level of risk to that. And the PCB had to understand that there was a risk associated with it. That, yes, we're saying the majority of things are underway and we're confident that we'll finish, but we are in red because right now our done state is not to what we expected. I like this report because as an ex-project manager, it killed me to be managing progress through changing the background colour of an Excel spreadsheet. Making a project yellow because I just felt it was yellow today is not really a way to report. So this is a calculation over the sum of effort that we've completed against the sum of effort expected in the time that we were given. And I have a 10% deviation at the moment. If it's outside, but 10% it's red. If it's inside 10, it's yellow. To me, that's a mathematical way of deciding what progress is, rather than how I feel when I wake up in the morning. Around value report, again, this one was pretty important. And this is the one that the PCB which I was really surprised, really like. And what this is showing you is the percentage of business value that we have delivered at that time. And you can see that this percentage has flatlined. And you could say, oh, that's terrible. But I'm going to say, no, that's great, because that's telling you what's happening right now. We're ignoring this business set. This was our program for New Zealand. I could say straight away, look, we're ignoring New Zealand right now because we have to deal with Australia. And this report, right now is actually going downwards because the New Zealand are asking for more things. So they're no longer at 55% of of business being captured within our program. It's that down to about 40. So it'll drop somewhat before we'll give it the attention it needs, because we're concentrating on a more important stakeholder. That's not to say we're ignoring it. We're capturing what they're asking for. It's just that we're just not doing anything with it at the moment. How I work with when I came in straight away, the first thing I said was, I want to be involved in our task or in our story breakdown with the business. I need to be there from the beginning. And yes, some people are easier than others. We got our stories on the table, and all I do then is I come up with some insulating tape, and depending how many stories are there, I'll just put insulating tape along the board or the table, and then I'll make some arbitrary rules and say you can only have 4 stories in the first 2 columns and the rest has to go in the next one. And I get the business to actually start moving them around and figuring out what they want first. That's not what we're going to do, but that's going to give my business analysts and my product owner the best indication of what we should be working on next. I have them involved. I want them moving things around. I don't want them sitting there just telling us something and not acting upon it. I have to have them engaged. Okay, the attitude. Now, I found this slide and I love it. So it's about Bambi trying to skate. If nothing bad is ever said, nothing good will ever get done. Right? And there's a classic example that when I was preparing for this presentation, I got a little bit excited, as those purists do. And I said to Dave, oh Dave, I'm going to throw 7 different theories at them. And I'm going to be able to show them how smart I am and how I can interlay all these human theories to be agile. And he just went, nah. And he could have said, oh, yeah, that sounds great, Martin, I think you should really do that. But my presentation today wouldn't be as strong as it is. If I hadn't ripped up his technical stories and asked him to start again with my assistants, we wouldn't have had the right message. And constructive criticism is required to make this work. You have to have an attitude where you can say no, where you can disagree, and there's no emotional attachment with it. One of the problems I had at the beginning was that every time something happened, there was emotions flaring up everywhere. And I had to try to distill that and say, leave your emotions on the outside of the story. We're working together on something that has nothing to do with how I see you as a person. It's to try and get the outcome that we need to make this project a success. And again, some people, this is easier than others, where they can detach the emotion apart from it. They can actually listen and act upon it before reacting. And that's, to me, the most important thing as a coach, is to make sure that you stay within that circle where you're not, people aren't becoming passively silent or passively or aggressive based on what you've just told them because you didn't like it. I mentioned it before, but really you just can't talk about something. You have to participate. If you don't have a coach who's actually participating in the project, who's involved in the project, who's actually doing some real work in the project, you're not going to have a coach, because you're never going to get the team to actually act upon anything they say, because if they don't do it, why should I? You really need to lead by example. You need to be the first step forward. Other people will follow, and even if you make a mistake, they're happier to tell you what you should have done first rather than letting them make the mistake. And it's all well and good, myself and David talking about technical stories and selling the idea to David, but it's pointless if I can't get all the background people to say yes as well. A coach has to be able to understand that it's not just the person you're talking to that is, who you have to change. It's everybody else. It's everybody in the team. It's everybody in the program. And as a coach, you really have to get that happening. And how you do that is another day's training. But you need to be aware of it. You have to, if something happens within an Agile project that you don't like, and it's changed by the actions of one person, you don't stop there. You need to make sure that everybody else realizes what that was for, why you made that decision. Okay, and the ecosystem. Well, if I go in with this attitude and I start pointing fingers and I'm quite grumpy about what I'm trying to change, well, I'm just going to get people coming up with punch bags, or ready to punch me. I'll get this ego. They won't listen, they won't look, they won't do anything. I'll just, and in the end, even if they do what I ask of them, they won't do it for the right reasons. I want them to understand why. So leaders' emotional states and actions do affect the team they lead, will feel, and therefore how they'll perform. My attitude has got to be right. My emotions have got to be right as a coach. I do have to sometimes be quiet before I talk. That's really, as a coach, you have to understand what the problem is before you talk. You can't just kind of react based on some theory that you read in a book. You have to be able to understand why the behaviour that you're noticing is happening right now and what I need to do to change it, rather than just say, no, that's not right, because Martin Fowler said in his blog X. You're never going to educate in that fashion. A leader is the glue that holds together a team, emotional states, and commits people to an organisation and the emotions they feel. You will influence. How you feel is how other people react. We have a pretty good rapport within our group, and that rapport transfers across the entire team. So that's it. I just hope I gave you some insight into how I helped NAB Capital to get to where they are.